And we're live. Look at that. Gentlemen,
Hello.
how we doing?
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at us.
How we feeling?
Good.
Feeling
Audio's
pretty good.
Yeah. Feel
Gentlemen,
great.
you look beautiful today. The summer light is reflecting well on you.
Does
Glowing.
wonders for my pale skin.
We're going to start out tonight. We're going to switch to the second monitor here. We're going to watch the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree story trailer.
I watched it already. They haven't. I'm still confused.
Well, yeah,
It's from software.
it's from
It's from software.
You'll
Yeah.
never understand.
Let's
it.
watch it and
Armored
discuss.
Core. I was kind of able to understand.
That's a little more
A
straightforward.
little
not
more
Souls.
straightforward.
It ain't Souls.
Got no soul.
How loud is the audio, Billy, compared to us when we're doing
Super
this?
loud. Blow your ears out.
So bleeding on camera.
Oh, the login.
Mikula the Kind spoke
Mikula.
of the beginning,
Who's talking?
Look at that.
the seduction, and the betrayal.
You.
Yeah.
An affair from which gold arose.
You think that's America?
Maybe.
And so too was Shadow born. What followed was a war unseen.
I cannot wait to fight that thing.
Who? Mesmer?
One
No,
that could
the
never
basket.
be
Oh,
put to
Fire
sleep.
basket.
A purge without grace or honor.
So what I gather so far is they're going to introduce a multiplayer mode where you siege this castle, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. It's going to
makes
be at
sense.
least 300 players.
Yeah.
It's actually online only.
Yeah.
You have to be logged into their server. too.
Yeah.
And you have to be playing the MMO.
And you have to subscribe to the Battle Pass, right?
It's not even a battle pass as much as it's just like
A monthly subscription
monthly
to play.
subscription to play. Like WoW.
I think so.
And it's called the Miyazaki Vacation Fund, right? That's
Yeah.
the subscription. Yeah.
They're going to completely change this.
The tyranny of Mesmer's flame.
They put a lot of effort into this story trailer cutscene. That's the shadow of the Erd Tree.
Whoa.
Dude, I'm digging this so
And
far.
so kindly Mikula would abandon everything.
Do you know, is that his rune, Kyle?
His golden
It must be.
flesh. His blinding strength. Even his fate. But we are not deterred. We choose to follow.
There's the multiplayer right there.
Good.
Will you walk with us?
All right.
Ugh. So ready.
You guys fully understand it?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
You didn't?
I did. I was just wanting to check in, make sure you guys understand what's going on. You
Did
know?
they change the date?
No, it's
Has
always
it
been
always been
620.
21st?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because people are always memeing that the main character in Armored Core, his name's 621,
Oh, really?
and June. Yeah,
That was probably intentional then. Probably. More than likely.
That's
He's like-
that's why they did it. They were trying to sell more Armor Core.
I'm sure that's the most wild marketing strategy I've ever heard. But
if you liked Elden Ring, go play Armored Core.
It's at the end of the credits roll.
Yeah. So what'd you guys think?
It's gonna be awesome. None of that
mean-
really gets me juiced up more than I already was. I think.
Did they have? Yeah,
that
they
gets
did.
me more juiced up than the first trailer.
Really?
Because like the first trailer, the gameplay aspect of it was like awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited to play it. But I love like a good cinematic, and that was legit. I still don't. I'm joking when I say I know what's
Yeah.
going on. Like, I would love to. I can't wait to try and figure out what's going on.
I want to play the game. I'll wait for a video to tell me what's going on. I'm not
Vati.
even gonna. I'm not
Did you
even
say-
gonna attempt.
You say Nvidia?
What?
No, he
I'm
said
gonna wait
Fati.
for a video.
Oh, they said Nvidia. I was like the graphic. Like they make videos on.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah, the graphics card company.
Yeah,
Yeah, they,
they-
they do detailed breakdowns. Yeah.
So you guys are all ready, right, with your fresh characters?
no.
No.
I have 2 characters fully ready. The one is max level. Everything is completely done. I think I beat Fire Giant. I haven't triggered the next phase of things.
Yeah.
Just in case, because I had the character ready before they kind of made the announcement of what you're going to need to have done.
In case
But
you
I've got-
want to do Frenzied Flame.
Or something weird, like some quirk with it, just to have that ready in the back pocket.
I have a character
Um,
that's right at that point too. Right before I lit the, mountaintop.
Or a tree on fire.
I'll just I stopped right there, and so that's the one I'm going to use as well.
And I have a second character that has it's like 100 level 120 or something like that, and they're equipped with a couple different builds that are ready. I have some weapons leveled up and fucking ready.
So, who do we think Mesmer, because there's a war. He fought a war based on that trailer, but for who and against?
He's the brother of Melania.
He's
He's
the third brother. There's Melania, Mikola, and Mesmer.
I thought Mesmer was Mikola,
No.
No.
Mm.
They're two
Mikola
different-
is.
the one that's laying
It sounds
there.
like it's his enemy, according to this. I don't know.
I thought it was like Mikola, like reborn, because Mikola's laying in the egg, right, with his hand out with
Yes.
Moog.
But he's always been he's a child. He's forever a child.
He's cursed with eternal childhood.
Yeah. So that
My
Moog,
baby boy.
Moog Lester could
The Moog Lester.
Yeah,
Oh, look at
could
you.
take him.
He's an abandoned child by America and Radagon.
There we go.
Jeez, so he should be helping us.
Maybe. He doesn't look like he's going to be helping us.
No, I'm
Watch
pretty
him be
sure
a
he's a boss
summon.
fight.
He's a summon that you can summon in, and he'll just solo a boss for you. Imagine that.
So
He'll
do you
take the basket down?
You think those guys at the end that are all like touching the ground are those ally NPCs? We think, or are they just hype? So
Are
like,
the-
will you join us?
It looks like another champion fight, like with Radon. That to
That'd be
me were
pretty
the
cool.
vibes that I got. Like
Yeah?
those were some.
Who would they be fighting? Because you're not going
summon
to
the
have multiple
festival.
people helping you fight Mesmer. So who would they be fighting?
The basket man.
The basket giant?
the bass.
That
There's-
seems more like a solo fight
Yeah.
too. There's obviously things that they're
Oh yeah.
they haven't shown us.
How
This
many-
this expansion is supposed to be pretty big. Like
They say all of Limgrave,
yeah,
which is always
Miyazaki
undersold.
exaggerate like he is always underselling how long because he's also said the average player should be able to beat Elden Ring in like 30 hours. Which I mean, after you've played it a couple times, sure, but the first playthrough, you're not beating
No.
it in 30 hours.
Their QA department must be legends.
That's what I've always wondered with like Elden Ring or any From Software. How does their QA department figure out which fight is, or not even their QA department, just their designers? How they decide what's too hard and what's not?
Dude, exactly.
I don't think they care. I think they just design it solely off of whether or not they had fun. I don't
Okay.
think that a From Software game is designed with difficulty in mind. It just so happens that Miyazaki and his crew like that type of game, and it just happens to be difficult. I don't think they're intentionally trying to make it difficult.
I actually think it's the exact. I think they spend most of their time like dialing in exactly what you're saying, like to make things like to not only get the animations dialed in, but like making sure that the dodge windows and everything are dialed in to make it like this is
of
going to be a little
course.
more accessible than this boss. Or
I don't think they're doing that with the intention of making a difficult game, though, is what I'm saying. I think they're doing that because that's the type of game they like. I don't think they're like, all right, how do we make this difficult? I think they're thinking like, what do we find fun? Like challenge, mechanics, like all that. And they're not like in the past they've designed bosses that weren't difficult, but like were fun. And I think that's like part of like they're like it just so happens that the things they like are tough. But
Yeah.
it's not like they're like trying to make a difficult game. Like because when you do that, that's when you run the risk of like games being difficult but not fun, which happens all the time.
Explain Elden Beast then.
Fuck that fight. No, I definitely think they have their mindset
Yeah.
on that style of fight, but I think there's an incredible effort that goes into designing the fight to make it more or less accessible and balancing it with
Well,
where you're at, where you should be at in the story, and where you like. I don't know, because like Margit's a really good example. Like Margit is sort of that like first, it's like the weeder boss, right? Like it
the filter.
the great filter. And there's really not that much crazy like bullshit elements to Margit, right? Like it's
He
very
has a
straightforward.
delay.
There's
No.
swipe. There's the delay, which can be kind of annoying, but I think that is almost intentional in design too. Is that don't like you have to not only pay attention to the animation, you need to pay attention to like the weapon and the direction it's coming from, like because they might hesitate or something like that. So I think that there's an incredible like care that
I
goes
think
into
maybe I'm
getting
not
that.
representing what I'm thinking very well then, because what you're saying is exactly what I'm thinking. But to me, what you're describing doesn't say we're designing this in a way that's hard. They're designing it in a very intentional way.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think that their mindset is let's make this as hard as we can. Like I think that everything is specific and works the way they want it to. But the way you're describing it is exactly how I'm thinking. I just think the mindset is not how do we make this difficult. It's how do we make this work in a way that's challenging,
I don't think-
fun, and finding a way.
I don't think your original point was, hey, how are they designing? I think it's like how do they approach a fight to decide like what level of difficulty
Yeah.
it is, right?
Like, well, with Radon,
makes things easy,
the
what
example,
makes it-
he's the only one. He's the one I know of where after the fact they went in and they're like, he's actually too hard. Let's
they had to
turn it
dial
down
that
a little
down.
bit.
They shouldn't have done that.
They shouldn't.
What
have.
did they
we were able to
nerf
beat him.
his
but
damage? I think they just nerfed his damage and health, right? They didn't actually change any
No,
like
the mechanics were the same.
yeah, right.
Maybe made him less aggressive or something. I don't know. I don't remember what they all
I wonder
changed.
if that is a dial. I bet you that's a dial for like maybe some of the open world stuff, but like aggressive, I don't know.
Well, and especially in his fight, because there's multiple. So they probably could have said, it takes this amount of damage for him to switch, like to aggro somebody, because there's multiple,
Yeah.
people hitting him. So
like there's like almost like a taunt. Like that's how World of Warcraft works, where the person doing the most DPS is the one that actually gets the taunt from the boss, which is very interesting mechanic. So your top DPS also has to be your tank, which is kind of interesting. So everyone else has to like balance how much damage. You can't just blow their load in one moment because they might get taunt the boss and then the boss attacks them.
So
At least from what I know about it.
while
But-
From Software never confirmed what they did in the nerf, data miners discovered that Radon ultimately did less damage and was less likely to make contact with his hits.
so his hit window.
his hitbox was
Yeah.
like smaller. Interesting.
According to data miners.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I don't mind when they as long as the hitbox.
That seems like a
Yeah.
weird one to adjust,
The
right?
thing with hitboxes is I'm nitpicky. They have to match what the enemy is. Like you need the sword to be on the sword, not over
Yeah.
the sword.
it should match
So maybe-
what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Was his hitbox unfair before? I don't remember.
I don't
that being
remember.
a problem.
Maybe. Well, the one I'm thinking of, they probably with him, his hitboxes were like his ground pounds.
That's
They
what
probably
the
reduced the
AoE
size
stuff,
of
right?
the AOE.
Or like when he does his like scream or whatever,
Yeah.
he does like the pulse
that
out.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like his AOE attacks is different. If
Yeah.
the area of effect is much smaller, then it's obviously not going to be as scary.
Which I don't mind them adjusting that kind of stuff because if arena is so large that you spend a considerable. I don't like like Elden Beast. I don't like chasing down my
I hate
enemy.
chasing.
Then you hit them once and they fucking run away again. Like that's not a fun fight. So I like that they did that because his has like the knockback effect too,
Yeah.
which is annoying.
That's my only gripe. I think presentation, it's a 10 out of 10, but the final boss is just so annoying in Elden Ring.
So I'm playing through this modded version of Elden Ring, and this is kind of perfect because I want to tell you guys about. We got to Radagon and Elden Beast. I'm playing with 4 people. We're playing on this
Seamless co-op.
seamless co-op. Really cool. I would recommend it for anybody. It's super fun to do just with friends. But we made it to Radagon and Elden Beast, and as somebody who's played the game, I'm the only one. And then Fran, my friend, has also played through it, but he hasn't played through it as much as we have. Watching how the bosses are different is so fascinating to me because, yes, they have more health, more damage, right? But multiple players really fucks with the AI in really interesting ways. So Radagon is so much harder fighting with multiple people than one because
his chain will switch
yeah,
people.
he'll all of a sudden he'll be mid swing and he'll turn halfway around and smack you. And it's like when you're fighting him solo, you know when he's gonna, he telegraphs his hits pretty well. But here he'll telegraph it, and you think he's going after somebody in front of him. But if you did a little bit more damage, he'll turn right around and fuck you
I
up.
wonder why that is, because obviously you can fight him in base game with up to 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really happen in that. So I wonder what it is about the seamless co-op that makes it.
No, I
freak
think
out.
it definitely happens when you summon other people.
I don't think his
I've
movements
seen
get
that.
sporadic.
Well, I've never played the seamless co-op, but I knew that
You're
did
making
that.
it sound like it's snappy.
Yeah.
You know how he does like the 3 hammers, like back to back to back?
Yeah, but
He's
if
pounding
it doesn't
down.
feel like a glitch.
No, it's not glitchy,
Yeah.
but it's just like when you fight him solo.
I thought you were saying like he literally would be attacking and then be like and like snap and hit.
But he'll go back, but then like the animation will decide I'm gonna hit this guy, and he'll do it on that side.
Yeah,
And so it's really
he's
hard
very
'cause
spinny.
It's that AOE pulsing
Yeah.
on the floor. That's tough.
Yeah.
He's very spinny. So like he'll be in the mid combo on this one person in front of him, and then as he charges up his next one, he can swing around and hit the other guy. Like it's built into his thing, so if you go around him, he can do it to you.
Yeah.
But the tough part of it is like the ground pound, especially, and those other combos. With the ground pound, he does it 3 times, big area of effect, but you can iframe through each one because it's if you look at it, he hits, you dodge. This was hard because he was doing it to my friend. I was in his section unhit, right? He wasn't even hitting the ground, so it wasn't glowing. I was like, I'm good. I don't have to do anything. He goes down, but he turns to me at the last second and hits the ground. Messed me up because he all of a sudden was aggro on me for some reason. So it's very interesting. And then another quirk is that bosses that move a lot move even more. And it's like, it gets annoying.
Which boss in particular?
Elden Beast for sure, but because
Oh.
we haven't beat him. But like
That's annoying.
before him, Malekith moved a lot, and then so
can see
did any dragon. You would get like 2 hits in, and
I
they'd
hate
be
dragon
they'd be
fights.
halfway across the map, or not halfway.
Can Malekith's like blood blade or whatever he calls it, like when he's doing in the second phase, he's throwing his blade out. Can that switch?
No, well, I
Or
mean,
is that all on the same person? Because he does like 3 swipes, right, and then lands.
he can aggro, but I would say experience wise from playing against both Elden Beast and Radagon have a slice that goes forward. It's very rare for them to switch.
I think there has to
Mid
be
combo.
has to be a difference. Because like when I've played a lot of multiplayer, and I always feel like the boss is much more aggressive on the host. And I think there must be something to the fact that everyone's pinging as a host. I think it would have to be more sporadic
Probably.
than.
They probably have on the seamless co-op because there's an option to scale the boss, right? So like with 3 people, they scale it to that's all like in-game design stuff that From Software decided on. But then on the in your seamless co-op mode, you have 4 people there. So I wonder if like they have had to make some decisions as to how much stamina regen the boss has, for instance, or how much health they have. So that might all affect their decision making on move attack set. Like, because if they have faster stamina regen, I would imagine that they do a lot more. They do a lot more attacks. Like because it's an algorithm that you're playing against essentially, right? And it's not always the same. Like these fights are not necessarily telegraphed. Very rarely they are. And so if you have, like, I bet you there's decision making, like if spam skills immediately if you're like above 75% stamina or something like that.
Yeah.
And if he has way more stamina than normal, then he might almost always be doing stamina spam, which is the movement set and stuff like that, like Elden Beast and all this other shit.
We haven't.
Yeah.
It hasn't been buggy in any fights, but I've seen some bosses be way more aggressive than like previous fights we've had against them. Like for some out of nowhere, they just spam stuff. Like not Astel. What's the one the one after the other?
I know which one you're talking about.
Centipede
That
guy.
one's hard.
Well, that one he does like this thing where he clones
The
himself.
Void Walker or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
You know the centipede guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
He clones himself, right? And if he comes towards the middle, only one of them's real, and it grabs you.
about. Yeah.
I was fighting him, and he did that. All the other people were dead already. It was just me. He comes in, I dodge it. He immediately does it again. I've never seen him do that move immediately after.
That's some clunky.
What was Melania like? Because she can get real spam heavy.
Melania, we beat third try.
Bang Bros?
Yeah,
No.
it's because
she gets stun locked so easy. If
felt-
you got multiple people with heavy weapons.
It felt kind of cheap because our layout is we have one sorcerer, we have one person who's like a bleed dex build, we have a bleed bonk, so bleed strength, and then me who's just strength. And I'm also like
Bleed strength seems kind of wild to me.
yeah, they use the bloodhound fang.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that one, I was thinking like greatsword.
Yeah.
Because like bleed is built off
have
of
to- how many
repetition.
times, yeah.
So if you're hitting like, the bleed would never really build up the way it could. But with Bloodhound Fang, I could see that.
Yeah. And so the guy that's the bleed dex, he has the bolt of Grandsax, and when you have the ability on that and you're able to fully charge it against her, she gets knocked down completely on her ass, like every time it hits. So what we did is,
Just don't get aggro on him.
well, yeah, so he would be sitting back there. Me and my
Shooting it?
friend, yeah, he'd be sitting back there shooting it. She'd fall down. We'd have to wait for her to get up because if you hit with the strength
She'll get up
too
immediately.
soon, she doesn't stagger. You wait for her to get up. We stagger her just enough for him to throw another bolt off. She wasn't able to do anything.
Yeah. I can see it.
It was kind of unfair. It was kind of.
Because the
What about Rick, Soldier of God?
He was our toughest fight.
dude,
You haven't beat him yet.
No, we haven't.
Don't lie to me.
We didn't even go.
fucking Rick, man.
I know. And
Somehow
beat the
this
first
mod
boss.
makes him the hardest boss in all
That
of
would
the
actually
game.
be funny.
I would love
That'd be
that.
hilarious.
You're trying to start the game, and you're like, whoa, what? He's over there like casting
He's
spells
just the
and
biggest
shit.
sponge, and he's just like moves around all quick, and that would be awesome.
Gideon was a joke again.
You finally come, or whatever he says with his arms out.
Just
I know in my heart.
you cannot be
I know in my bones, you'll never be a god.
Yeah, the hardest one we've had that we spent the most time on was
Let me
probably yeah, go ahead.
Let me guess.
Elden Beast.
No, well, they're struggling with that now.
Mhm.
Does that count?
I'm gonna say like Commander Nile because of the ads. And
He
it's
would
like,
be close. I would say though Placidusax.
Yeah.
really.
Mhm. Because
You
because
can't do
he's
stagger.
movement based.
Yeah.
So he moved around a lot, and then
And his arena's huge too.
his arena's huge, and the flame. Like you don't have torrent against this dragon, so you can't outrun. If you're in the flame, you're kind of screwed.
I think I've only killed that boss twice. And
You know,
the first
I-
time he glitched.
I've only
Thank God.
beat him, I think, once. And I have never really cared enough to go back and do
It's
it
a lot of
again.
effort, man.
Yeah, and you got to do all the platforming to get to him.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not worth it. And I got, my first playthrough, I got what I needed from him. And you
Mhm.
carried over to your next new game. So,
He was another one that he did a thing I wasn't suspecting. So you know how he does his lasers when like he's like at 25% health or whatever?
Yeah.
He like shoots beams of lasers. He did that twice in a row. and it was like, oh shit, because I dodged the first one, and I was like, oh god, he's doing it again.
That's a lot
Yeah.
of lasers.
It is.
You know, I actually never really struggled with Nile.
Really?
Yeah, and a part of that I think is I was like like at least a level 100 by the time I fought him, so maybe I was over leveled very first time I fought him. But he was never the one that, and it's funny because I have never once struggled since. But the one that gave me the hardest time when I first played through was actually Draconic Tree Sentinel.
He is, yes.
At my very first playthrough, that guy fucked me up all like for a long ass
He's a
time.
gatekeeper too.
And then I was trying to do your method. You're like, no, if you just bring the rot dogs and you can poison him and then run away and watch him die. I don't know how you got that to work. I never
They've
got
done like
that to
6
work.
times without dying, and if they get hit once, they're dead.
But ever since then, like once I figured him out, I've never struggled. But my first playthrough, he was hard. Like that was tough.
Unoptimized builds, under leveled, you know, you
Yeah.
name it. He definitely was tough.
The boss that surprised me that we struggled on was probably, he's not even boss. And he's always good. The Carrion Knight, dude. I knew he was gonna be
Which
trouble.
one?
Which one?
The
one that's-
royal one or the phantom one?
The dude that's just standing outside of Ronaldo's
Parry God?
elevator.
The
Parry
phantom
God.
one.
Yeah.
No.
Where he
God.
just, I love the memes. I read a meme recently about him. It's like somebody in some from
Oh,
Soft.
I was thinking of Royal Knight Loretta.
No.
No.
Yeah,
Literally
Carrion
he's like, you've been invaded by.
Oh, that-
actually he doesn't.
No,
he's not
he's
an
just
invader.
there.
He's just standing there.
Yeah,
at
the one that
bottom
if
of
you
the
don't
elevator.
do it right, he instant kills
Parries.
you
Yeah.
every time you attack.
Every
Yeah.
time. He
You
did.
have a
He's,
shitload of health and he'll kill
Yeah.
you.
the meme I saw was like somebody at From Software is 24/7 playing that character.
Yeah.
Getting
For
their reps in.
everyone.
For everyone, he's like, time to beat somebody's ass.
He's like
That guy fucked me
somehow
up so long.
omnipotent,
Yeah.
fighting everyone, everywhere, all at once.
That guy fucked me up for so long, man. Oh my god, that parry was pissing me off.
I got pretty good at. I learned how to parry because of that, and like I would parry him.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. I never
Does
parried.
that kill him? Or-
Not instant.
no.
It's like takes like half health.
It's not like his attack that kills you.
Yeah.
I watched.
Or it's pretty easy to trick him into falling into that elevator.
Oh, to come. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
guess
could
I never thought.
you
to
could
do
literally just walk him over right he's about to hit, like roll against a corner, and he's always like, and just falls.
that. I watched Something Cool Gaming fight him, and I was like, "Get ready, man!" Didn't no spoilers, but I'm like, "All right." And he had like a huge greatsword at the time, and he was just fat swinging, heavy swinging this thing every time. Didn't parry him once.
What?
I was so pissed
The
off.
best RNG.
Yes, and then New Game Plus, he gets back there like the next once he beat the game, like he rushed through the game to get there again, and he fucked him up so many times, and I was like, yes, this is what you missed out on. He
That
kept
was-
fucking perfect parrying him, and I'm like,
That was the
yep.
From Software guy's day off.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a funny conspiracy theory. It's just Miyazaki.
It's
himself.
Miyazaki himself.
He like every now and
Fuckers.
again I like to log in and
You didn't buy the digital edition with the freaking soundtrack. Bam.
Barry. Yeah.
I still have not pre-ordered this.
I'm probably not
Why?
gonna pre-order. I don't see why I need to if it's an expansion.
I guess.
Like, I mean,
but like
I'm
if
gonna
you're
buy
gonna,
it for
if you're
sure.
gonna buy it day one, what's the difference?
True.
And this comes out the second day that I'm on vacation for like 2 weeks.
That's your problem.
It really is. So I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna be like, you guys are gonna already have beaten it, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it wasn't that great, or oh, it was so good. We have to watch you kill this one boss, or I can't wait to see how you die to this
Not
guy.
only is this the hardest,
hardest
boss
expansion.
I've ever fought,
I don't think I'll ever play a From Software game again.
I just can't wait.
This expansion gate keeps me out of From Software games.
If I come back and you guys say some shit like that, like the buggiest, worst release of all time, like
they
unplayable.
added so many
The
microtransactions.
Cyberpunk launch has nothing on this. Not even close to how bad this was.
This is coming out
It
for
somehow
PS4
broke
too.
the main game.
That would be fucked.
PS4. People still releasing for PS4.
Wow.
And even Steam. that
And
comes out.
Xbox.
PS4 hasn't
Base
been
Xbox.
updated, or it has been updated, but it's been pretty much dead since for like 4 years now.
That's probably why it took so long for this to come out.
Yeah.
Well, the PS6 should be coming out like next year, or like if we go on like the traditional release schedule.
7 years is typically the
And it came out
time
in
frame. So
2018,
No, 2020. So couple like
2020.
2020.
Oh, okay. Then I'm
Oh.
wrong. Oh,
It was a remember they like blamed COVID.
I thought it came out like in
1999, and then they've been holding it.
1999, give or take. I thought it came out the end of 19, like right at COVID.
No, the reason like they blamed the reason why they were so
What time of
short
year did it come out?
inventory was because COVID and and how the chips got affected and all that. It was part of that, if you remember.
I remember that like bogging
Do
down the November 2020. Okay, so this was deep.
You don't remember.
COVID. What? No, I definitely remember.
If you
it.
don't remember
I
the
remember you
dates,
guys
you don't
both
remember.
trying to fucking pirate it.
Pirate?
You were
Pirate
pirating it.
How do you pirate a console?
You pirate hardware.
How do we do
You
that?
download the hardware.
Yeah, I
You guys put in the patch. And you download the hardware. No, you're
I
trying to
love
fucking scalp it or whatever. Buy it from scalpers.
I've
We
yet to
would
fail.
never.
Every time I give Billy a year or a date, he always fact checks me, and then he's baffled
I
that
want-
it's true.
No, I wanted to see what time of year it came out. If it was at the beginning or the end.
I know, I'm just kidding. But no, I am very proud that I was patient and I got it
The
for the price it was listed at.
Me
I
and
didn't,
Kyle- Like this bring back memories. We used to at Wells Fargo. We were like in the loop together.
I know.
I remember we'd be like
Stock
Yo,
drop.
Yeah,
Best
it's like
Buy.
look
Go.
on Best Buy right now.
No,
It's in my cart. I can't check out.
I used to
That's insane.
I used to literally like put like blocks in my calendar to where I didn't have to do anything except do that, and I'd be sitting on my desk for like an hour, and then they'd be like,
Oh, they would come out with like stock, like inventory increases, like at a set time.
"Yeah,
Yeah, I was
They'd be like,
subscribed to Now
we're
in
launching."
Stock.
We'd be like, "Yeah, we're launching at 12 p.m. Pacific." You know, they'd say something like that, like a couple hours beforehand. Immediately go in and clear out my calendar. Wait.
Refresh.
Don't interrupt me. I'm busy.
Your regular comes in. Hey, Kyle, can you shut up? Get out of here.
It's 7 years per console release, so
About, yeah.
we're coming up on 4 years now. So we're a little over halfway then. Not as close as I thought. PS6, you guys day one purchase?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
PS5's still plenty strong,
Yeah.
and I mean,
Until
it'll
it comes
probably
out and they're gonna have some marketing.
I didn't-
If
gimmick
God of
with
War
it.
I didn't day
6.
one purchase the PS5, so I think, not that I didn't try.
Yeah,
but-
we could.
I was gonna say both of you, if you could.
Was that
you
a
would have done
choice
that.
or a
Guarantee you,
ability?
it was a choice.
in 3 years when the PS6 comes out and they're gonna launch it with some like
If it's
marketing
God of
gimmick.
War 7,
Exactly.
I'm gonna be like, sign me
I gotta
up.
have the
If I have the money,
45 FPS.
if I have the money, like I mean, of course, like I would buy it.
And-
It's not like I'm never gonna say I'm done with consoles. Like that's just silly.
I don't know. This has always been my
Going
philosophy
to only
too.
board games.
He's not gonna understand this, but I want to see if you do, Kyle. The sooner I upgrade, the more money I get for my old one.
Because
Yeah.
you traded in or something, or
Yeah.
do you sell it?
No, I usually trade up through like GameStop or Best Buy or whoever.
And now that everything's bought digitally too, you just keep your game library. Now it's not even like a big deal anymore.
Yeah, so like that's why usually I don't wait too long into the console life cycle to buy the new one because I feel like my other one depreciates like over time, and
I'm
whereas
losing
What do
out
they-
on my
What do
investment.
they usually buy it for? Like, what they buy your PS4 for?
maybe I got like 100. Actually, honestly though, the PS4, I think no, I sold
100
that.
is impressive.
I sold that to my friend Malachi. So
I actually
So how much did you rip your friend Malachi off for?
I gave him a good deal. I gave him for like,
250
no, like
for
$100
a
bucks.
7-year-old
That's
console.
still that's really expensive. For,
I,
that's a last gen console now.
I left all my games on it.
Oh shoot!
Did you clear your browser history though?
Who uses a console to
Who-
search the
yeah.
internet?
You clearly didn't grow up in the 90s.
I had a PSP that I used to browse the internet on. Back in the day.
PSP.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Please tell me. How
It was
did
not
that
bad.
work?
It was
Really?
It was basically like a Gen 1 smartphone.
I heard
I
another.
could not imagine that browsing experience being any good at all. Like, what
Well,
did,
no,
what did the
browsing,
internet look like? You know, like on the PSP.
It was like desktop version.
Yeah.
It wasn't like mobile.
That's what I'm imagining.
But yeah, I remember like I would like scroll through YouTube and
Yeah.
stuff and like look at like articles and things like on
articles,
the PSP.
you know.
I heard there's another like PlayStation Portable being in the works.
I don't think they want to get back into that market.
I heard that rumor though.
They're
Like
gonna lose out
today,
again.
they might.
Is that the device where you stream it from your console to your port?
I didn't even read the article, so this
You're
is like
portable.
it's
Well,
all very.
I don't know what the terms are because I'm not a console bitch.
Yeah, this is all very surface level, but the image
Yeah.
that was on the article
Is that what it is?
looked like a PSP.
Okay, but what came out? You said PS Portal. Now I'm hanging on this. Didn't they come out with a product like a year or two ago called the PS Portal, PlayStation Portal,
It was
and it streamed your
Yeah.
PS5
You could buy
to
it.
your device,
Yeah.
and that's what it was, right?
Yeah, it
That's
was just
all
like a
It was a
screen.
screen. It was like a $200 screen.
Yeah.
with a controller built into it,
Mhm.
right? That to me actually would be a worthwhile upgrade because then you could play in your bed or whatever you wanted to do.
you could play while going.
It's not really portable though. I mean,
Definitely not. You have to have your console.
Yeah.
there.
So like,
So it's literally it's just a screen.
how
but-
am I supposed to game on my commute to work
You're right.
while driving?
Neuralink chip implant.
Not even like seeing what's on the road.
So yeah,
You know, Dylan, I can't relate to selling consoles like immediately. Like I still
No?
have everything I've ever
I
bought.
couldn't do that. Me too.
Yeah.
I don't like. Couldn't do that. Couldn't give it up
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
because there's games that you don't translate. Not all of them, and so you just give those up. And you're like, that's considerable amount of money.
I still have my PS1. I have
Oh.
my GameCube. I have like my Xbox 360, my PS3, my PS4,
PS1.
PS5.
I have my Super Nintendo.
I don't. I have a Super Nintendo like micro console that I could buy
Oh,
from
the-
like
Nice.
Target
Yeah.
that has like
$20.
it was like $80 because it had
Really?
yeah it has
the full
it had
library?
like 500 games on it
I thought
That's
about
nice.
buying that.
and it's legit like it's the real thing.
That's nice.
No,
I
I have
like
But
that.
do you get the nostalgia of
I have
actually
my
putting in a cassette?
I have my
Or
Atari
smelling it,
2600.
looking at it.
And I play a little joystick. Play
How do you what games are on that?
on the Atari 2600. You know,
Pong?
Pitfall, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, the game that almost destroyed gaming.
Yeah,
That good, huh?
That
if there was a landfill dedicated to ET.
I do not have an Atari 2600. So
I was gonna
that's
say
a
I'm like I've
collector's
never
item at this
Yeah.
point. If you have one, that's like rare.
Especially ET.
Yeah.
Like most of those games were destroyed somehow. I don't even know that whole stuff.
My grandfather had the original Pong in the box.
And it was
In the
literally like
box?
a dial to control the.
Yep.
Did he sell it?
When he passed away, my grandma thought it was worthless and she threw it away.
No. Oh, heartbreaking.
Wow.
Yep.
All right.
He was saving that. He actually told me he was gonna give it to me. He said, and then when he passed, we were cleaning up the house like a couple weeks after, and well, actually not weeks after, like way longer after. And I was like, "Hey, Grandma, you know where that Pong went?" And she was like, "Was that like that thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, Grandpa said that he was." She's like, "I threw it away." She was so upset.
Did you hate her forever?
No.
Did
No.
you just say
It
you're
would've
no
been
longer
cool.
my
It would've been
grandma?
Dead to me.
I wouldn't have. I honestly I'm not into it for like the collecting of it. I probably would have like used it.
Yeah.
You know, like plugged it in and actually used it.
Like
because that'd be cool.
I don't keep my Super Nintendo because I'm gonna sell it. I keep it because it's
Yeah.
like I played it and I some like very very rarely I'll plug it in and I'll be like, let me check out Mario, and I'm like, this sucks ass.
Well, like that's just my thought too. It's like I have a PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Like, me and 160 million other people. Like, it's not like that's gonna become
Yeah.
rare at any point. Mine's used, So like, it's got some wear in. Like, I'm sure there's still people out there with like OG first run of PlayStation 2.
Yeah, like serial number 1.
Yeah, exactly. In box.
I just did a quick little Google, and I definitely would not sell it because they said even a Pong console in mint condition is like you could maybe get like $150 out of it.
Yeah, see?
So it's like you might as well just keep it for the nostalgia.
Exactly.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like,
it was just cool because, it's from my grandpa and stuff like that. But she hucked it. I was like,
we could have put it right there. Cover up the Spider-Man so you don't cringe every time you walk in
I
here.
might have to go dumpster diving then. Fucking 8 years old.
It's all like
Somehow he finds it.
it's all like
There it is!
covered. It's like the box is falling apart and the console's all broken.
Do you think landfills like log when they dump in certain areas? Like, let's say they own 100 acres, and they're like, this section we filled up this week. So if you knew when you threw it away, then you could like go excavate that section. Or do you think that's not even close to that?
I can't
Maybe?
possibly imagine that they would do that. Boom goes the
Boom. Thank you, Victory.
I heard that landfills can be dangerous, not just for like the obvious reasons, but also because of like potential like
fumes.
nuclear fallout and like radiation and not nuclear
Nuclear
fallout, but like
fallout.
radiation.
Yeah, fallout.
Like, wait, what?
They detonated a few nukes over there.
You know,
Nuclear fallout.
That's how
No.
they get rid of the
I
land.
was like, wait, what are they doing on fucking landfills and just fucking nuke it?
no, definitely not nuclear fallout, but like I was joking about that, but
That's
not
so
like
funny.
radiation. I heard that is actually like a
That's
thing.
crazy.
And,
Like, as stuff decomposes, they just off
Yeah.
gas.
and
Shit.
like so like you got to be careful. You can't just like go
Digging.
in the landfill.
Damn.
Or you could, what you could do is like set up a prison for children and have them just come out with a shovel and dig
Called
holes.
juvenile hall.
And
It's called holes.
yeah.
Holes.
Just
You're
dig
gonna have
holes,
some kid named Zero.
and you have them locate your treasure.
Then-
Yeah, can you find my Bitcoin? That's
It's buried somewhere.
Started a juvenile detention center.
so they can look
So
through
you
the
dig-
landfill
Shit.
to find
To
your
find a
Bitcoin that fell.
Half decomposed laptop that you probably have zero chance of rebooting if you even found it.
Yeah, it's completely dead. I got a topic.
Hit me.
I don't think you guys are ready for it. Okay, so let me start off by saying this topic.
Is this like
goes-
where are we going with this? Because I do have a
It-
couple.
It goes real deep. It goes, I need you guys to buckle in and put your seats on.
I'm sitting in a
The
collapsible
vibration.
chair. There is no
Put the
seatbelt.
vibration on your collapsible chair.
Can I make 2 comments before we
No.
do a nosedive?
We're gonna go deep.
He
I need
really
you
wants to
guys-
talk about the
dial
methane
in.
that's found in landfills.
Yes, I need you to dial in,
Aren't
dial
we
up,
gonna have to-
sit up, lay
I'm already
down,
erect.
do 10 push-ups,
Oh, I can't do that.
and then we're gonna
When's
talk
the last time I did 10 push-ups? I don't even know.
10 years
year.
ago.
Yeah, Jesus.
We're gonna talk about this topic.
You're really building this up.
When I get to what
tells
this
me
topic
this
is,
topic's gonna suck ass. I can already tell.
This is how you date a woman. 101.
no.
Sit in close. Join us.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we're fucking ready. Jesus Christ.
Billy, tell us about mesh servers.
Oh, Jesus.
I've been planning that bit for 3 weeks.
This fucking asshole, man.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't even hear what he said.
Mesh servers, because I put it on the fucking podcast topics for so long.
And we missed it. And then
Okay, that's a nosedive of a topic. So let me say the 2 things that I wanted so we just get them out of the way.
When are you gonna find out? We don't care.
I know.
Go quick.
Lord of the Rings Rings of Power season 2 comes out August 29th, I think. Hell yeah, super hyped for that. I'm excited. Fuck you guys. And then they also had a subtle announcement that didn't make more waves, and I'm not sure if you guys even heard of it, but Lord of the Rings is getting another trilogy.
I did read that.
And it is they're they haven't really, like, they're still in the script writing, so nothing is set in stone. I really hope they don't fucking do what they're talking about right now, which is following Gollum. They're doing a
God,
Gollum.
it's gonna be the
The fucking video game, dude. And I'm like, I hope to God that's not the case. I'm over the Gollum storyline.
Why are people
We don't need
obsessed
that.
over that character?
I don't know. He's literally
He's so tragic.
yeah. I don't.
It's gonna be a
He got
rom-com.
6 movies. He was in the fucking Hobbit, and
Yeah.
he was in like. Sorry, that's enough.
We need Andy Serkis back.
But the first movie of this trilogy, of this new trilogy, is going to be directed by Peter Jackson. Oh shit! And he's bringing all of his OG writing team back with him, like Fran and Michael or something like that. I don't know
What's
who the
the-
third guy
Fran
is.
Drescher.
No,
Yeah, she wrote Lord of the Rings. The
no.
nanny.
The nanny.
Is that the lady with the crazy voice?
She has like the Boston
nasally
Yeah.
New York accent.
But he's bringing back his whole original team, like the writing team and stuff. So that could be really interesting to see. And I think maybe I didn't have really an issue with the Hobbit movies. I really didn't. I thought they were enjoyable.
I'm
People
confused
seemingly
as to why he's doing this though. Like, why is he remaking his own movie?
hate $100
like,
million. No, he's not remaking. It's a new film
set in the universe, but
set
not
in the
following
Tolkien universe.
Okay,
So
so I thought you were saying they're remaking.
No. These are
trilogy.
3. No, they're funding a trilogy, 3 movies, and the first one is going to be directed by Peter Jackson, and they have not decided on what they're going to do.
Feels like it's getting milked.
Oh, it feels like it. It is. It
Like-
absolutely is.
I don't know if I'm hyped for that. That doesn't sound like something I'm interested in.
I just love that we're getting Lord of the Rings.
I
content.
love Lord of the
I love
Rings,
that world,
but like
so.
it feels a little. It's like sacred to me. Like I feel like it's getting. Look what they're doing to the IP.
They have War of the Rohirrim coming out, which is an animated film. It comes out this year. I think it's like it's about like Rohan or something like that. I don't know. I don't know who the Rohirrim is, whatever, but it's an animated film.
The Rohirrim, you don't know?
That's the Rohan writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
That's
Must
what-
of the Rohirrim.
But I don't know, is that like what they call them, or is that like a subculture? Is that what like the culture of Rohan is? I don't know, like those kinds of
Time
details.
to Google.
Because Tolkien fans will call your ass out real quick. So I'm hyped for that. It's absolutely getting milked, but what the fuck isn't getting milked these days?
I was gonna say in the regards to the milk comment, like I don't feel like Lord of the Rings is there yet. I think they're definitely ramping it up in like oh, we need to milk this cash cow.
Please
But-
don't turn into Star Wars.
Well, Star Wars, Transformers, those are 2 that have
Planet
been
of the Apes.
Yes, yeah.
What are we 12 movies in? Fast and Furious?
Kingdom
No.
of the Planet of the Apes was
By that logic, Godzilla.
Oh.
yes, but when do you? I think Generation is where you cut off
They've been making the same movie for 80 years.
because like I wouldn't consider
How many cities have yet to fall?
Yeah, like I wouldn't consider the Planet of the Apes, the old ones,
To have
anyway
anything to-
connected.
yeah.
Like saying that they've been milking it from the 70s.
Mhm.
No, they made the 3, which I think were really good. Rise, Dawn, War. Those are 3. Those with Andy Serkis were good, but then this new one was.
Well, I
alright.
kind of agree with you with like Lord of the Rings isn't there yet because we had Lord of the Rings 2001, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
And then The Hobbit was like 2011, 12, and 13, I think, or 12, 13, 14, something like that. And now we have the Amazon TV series. And other than that, I don't know if we've had other content like
Wait,
there was
specific to
all
the
the
IP?
cartoons in the
Shadow of
70s.
Mordor,
There was
the
video
game.
the games, which were great. But Tolkien, like this, the
like
Tolkien
12
owns
games.
the IP, and they like the Society of Tolkien, whatever the fuck they're called, and they're like hella conservative with leasing that out. So I don't feel like we're oversaturated, but
I don't think yet. I think it's a very slippery slope because it could all of a sudden go into like Harry Potter territory where they start, like Harry Potter went crazy with Fantastic
offshoots.
Beats.
Yeah.
Or
Beast.
Fantastic Beats. And I feel like that started to feel like milking it a little bit, especially when I have
It's
issues
gonna
with that.
feel it's
Yeah.
gonna feel like we're milking it though. To your point, Kyle,
And-
like when we're doing the TV series at the same time as the new films coming out.
Well, and it
Now
depends.
it's like too much content.
I think on how well the movies are written, right? Because I was all for Fantastic Beasts after watching the first one. Then the second, is there 3 of them now? Has there
Yeah,
been
but they
three?
canceled it after the third one.
Okay, well the third one was like the same as the one before it. It was more of this teasing of Dumbledore and they're gonna fight, but you don't get to see it. It's the best wizard fight ever, and it's like they were written bad. Where I was buckled in on the first movie, and then I was like, okay, they're not doing anything. They're
I
just-
actually didn't like the first Fantastic
No?
Beasts. I liked the second one a lot back when Johnny Depp was still the bad guy.
yeah,
And I never saw the third.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
He was good, but I just didn't like how they kept pushing out the Dumbledore and whatever his name.
I don't think it needed. It got canceled, but they originally planned like 5 films to
Like,
do
that's
that.
too much.
They didn't need to do that. That
No,
was-
you could have done it in the third one.
yeah.
Boom.
So the Rohirrim, to get back to that topic, they were the horse lords. Basically, they were nomadic people. They eventually settled in the land that is now known as Rohan, which is named after them. The modern Rohirrim were basically all the soldiers of Rohan who rode horses.
Okay.
So when he says muster the Rohirrim, it's basically their army.
The horse rider.
Yeah, the horse riders. And the Rohirrim are the ones that charged in on Battle of Pelennor Fields. But if they say the War of the Rohirrim, it might be well before this, before
Before
they
they
settled the
established
land of
Rohan.
Rohan, back when they were still like nomadic people on horseback. So hard
Yeah.
to say.
It's
They
an
call
animated film,
themselves
so I'm not excited, but
Eorlingus, after their king Eorl the Young, who had first brought them to Rohan. So maybe
King
it follows that guy.
Théoden's ancestor.
No.
So do you guys like in this new trilogy, right? Would you want it to be another super high stakes adventure?
I don't know. I don't know if that's required. What I want is like, as a fan, someone who hasn't gone nuts over the books and simps over that stuff. Like, I just want to set in that world and make an interesting story from that.
Well,
I don't want I don't need to have the same, because what they're trying to do, from what I read on this article, they're trying to bring in characters that they knew that we already have been exposed to as an audience, like Aragorn and Legolas and shit like that. Bring them back into the fold, and then they're like main characters in this new story. And it's like, I don't know, I don't want that. Let the trilogy be the trilogy.
yeah.
Let's create something new. And that's why I kind of like Rings of Power, because it's sort of that second age and we're setting things up. I almost would like to go maybe back to like the first age when the world was really full of magic and like very, very beautiful across all the lands, or something even post like the fourth age. Because at the end of the third Lord of the Rings movies, they talk about now ushers in the fourth age. Like, let's go somewhere new. Let's go somewhere new, and let's expand on that. Let's take the settings and the foundations that Lord of the Rings set, and let's sow something new. It doesn't need to be this like huge epic of, you know, good versus evil, light versus dark, you know, adventure story. No, I just make something interesting in this vast world. There could be a lot of cool storylines, but that's my take.
I am a sucker for a good, like, ultimate evil boss in stories. I think that's why I like Mass Effect so much.
Reapers.
Yeah, like, I always feel like a story is only as good as its villains. But that being said, there are plenty of really good ways to have just a grounded story that the world isn't ending. It's just around that character. Take, for example, Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happens in that story that really changes anything in the grand scheme of things. It's all just V's story. And I think that if it's done effectively and done well, then I think that could be really good.
Yeah. Well, because I was telling Billy before you got here tonight, Kyle, we were talking about what our favorite Lord of the Rings was. And I was saying that I think, like, number 1 might be my favorite because that's when you get to see everybody together.
It's like D&D.
It's like D&D, and that you get to see them interact, and nobody's depressed. I mean, they're a little bit depressed, but they aren't like, movie 3 where they're just like, Frodo's like, I'm emo. He's not emo, but the ring is corrupting him. So I want something more, at least for a little bit, not as high stakes as we need to get the ring to Mordor.
Yeah.
And it's corrupting one of your favorite characters every movie.
Yeah. I feel like they could even go tentatively, like walk the boundary of, because now it's the Fourth Age, right? And now it's the era of men, because the elves have, for the most part, left. And it would
heaven.
Exactly. Which is like literally a spot.
It's
and they
Maui.
just go
It's
west
Hawaii.
to.
They're chilling in the tropics.
Yeah.
What's going on over there? Look at them. Oh, poor guys.
They made it to Tahiti.
Let's get another Mai Tai.
They're all like bros. What's up?
What's up, bro? Want to go surf?
But like playing on like the politics of men, of like these established kingdoms, and
Game of Thrones.
because Gondor just now like found its king after like 1,000 years, and how's that playing out? A generation or two down, and what is like who's the new enemy? Like, is there still remnants of like orc army? Because the way the third movie ends, all those orcs don't just die; they just like kind of scatter. So there's still definitely an orc presence in the world. How's that dynamic going? Like, there's just so much to play on, like between like the politics game. It might be interesting to explore.
What if it takes place 1,000 years later, and it's indecipherable from modern times?
Oh God!
They have cars and
Lord of the Rings, and it's like he's playing like a Ring video game on his phone, like bling bling. bling. I
Like
got
it's
3
set
gems.
in Middle Earth, but it's
it
like
becomes a young adult book,
yeah,
like
That would be so
a
cool.
young adult
or
romance.
Maze Runner. Like Maze
Oh
Runner.
yeah,
But you don't even have to You don't even have to also.
kidding by the way.
Hunger
I
Games.
don't-
There's so much source material for the Tolkien universe. Like, draw on any of those stories. Like, go take
Yeah.
a site and create a new vision for it. Like, I'm just talking about like off the cuff of what might be interesting for me because I just love the universe. But there's like thousands of pages of content that they could go and create a story and make a vision for it.
Do fantasy movies not do that well besides Lord of the Rings?
I don't think so. Harry Potter films all did really well.
But I mean, like that fantasy, like Harry
Medieval?
Potter.
Like swords and
swords and spells, and like Harry Potter is like modern fantasy, right? Because they're
Okay.
like early. I think they're in like the early 70s. I don't remember what Harry Potter takes place in, but I know it's earlier. But I'm just wondering because it's like we don't have that many just movies set in that time period besides Lord of the Rings.
How did Dungeons and Dragons do that just recently came out? Honor Among Thieves, is that what it's called?
I really like that movie. I'm not sure how well
it
it
did.
did. Let me look that up.
Game of Thrones, guys. Daniel says. What's up, Daniel?
That's
Yeah,
a very good point.
but
I was thinking just movies. but
movies.
Game of Thrones took over the world.
Yeah.
I think it's totally applicable to like I mean,
Well, I was just wondering why we don't get more movies that are that genre.
do you want to know why?
Why?
Because those movies have to have a lot of buy-in. All of the ones that have success have been cultural fads. Like Game of Thrones were books translated to the big screen, and it already had like this cult-like following. And then Lord of the Rings, same exact thing. Generations of books that was then adapted into, a movie.
Where's the line between sci-fi and fantasy? I mean, I would argue that a lot of Marvel films are more fantasy than sci-fi.
To me, where I draw that line, because I've asked that question a million times,
Yeah.
is technology.
Yeah.
Like fantasy is like they don't have.
I would
any
argue that Star
realm.
Wars is more fantasy than sci-fi.
Well, and you have like high fantasy, low fantasy. There's
Yeah.
different subgenres. Real quick before we move on too far, Dungeons and Dragons made 208 million worldwide. The budget of 150.
So not pretty
That
standard.
movie was,
I mean,
that movie was kind of blah.
really?
I liked it.
I liked it.
It was very. I didn't get me excited, and I didn't hate it. I thought it was like, okay, I watched a movie.
Blech.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantasy does much better in video games, I think, than it does
Definitely.
in movies.
Yeah.
I think it does better. I think it translates better to character development, and you get that from like TV series where you have like a lot more time to develop characters and narratives. But yeah, I think Lord of the Rings was the exception because, again, people had the books for 60 years.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean did really well. Does that
Mm.
count?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a book?
No.
Well, it was
based
a
off a
ride.
Disney ride.
It was a Disney ride.
Oh,
from,
that's
like,
right.
the
It was a ride
70s.
first that they then
Yeah.
adapted. Wow, that's really okay. So that's that's a great example. So again, people fell in love with the ride. They have that following. It's recognizable now.
So maybe they just need to have a.
There needs to be content like surrounds something that people fall in love with that you can then adapt.
Witcher. I mean, it's not. They never made a movie. It was a TV show, but
I don't know if that
I
really
think The
broke
Witcher
through to-
was more successful not because maybe the books, but because of the video game.
yeah. Oh, 100%. But it had that following when the show started. So yeah, I guess.
The Chronicles of Narnia. I was never like a huge fan, but those first couple of movies did really well.
Isn't the lion Jesus?
It's like it's all symbolism for Christianity. Pretty sure. I mean, C.S. Lewis was a pretty well documented Christian, I think.
Huh.
And that's why I couldn't stand it.
The closet.
No, I weirdly, because I don't share this gripe that Billy has where like he says he just can't get behind something if it's about children. But that's the only story that I think I agree with that sentiment. And I think it's because those children in particular, like I just wasn't a fan of. Like they just didn't.
Which children are you talking about?
Chronicles of Narnia, the four not adopted, the four kids sent to their, what is that, their uncle or something?
I've never seen it.
What?
I wasn't interested in it.
You're
Well,
the
I'm not
weirdest.
going to go out of my way to say go watch it or anything,
No,
but
that's just crazy because that was like a cultural phenomenon.
And I was like,
little
I'll
little
play.
Dylan.
Never watched
I'll
Lord
play
of the
Mass
Rings.
Effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Mass
I'm gonna
Effect wasn't
play
even
it
out yet when
anytime.
the first one came out.
I was all about that sci-fi grind, yo. You
And
know?
when did the first one come out? 2005. Oh, you're 10. You're like,
Yeah.
give me that
Jesus.
sci-fi grind.
Sci-fi grind. No, back
Jesus.
then I was reading books like Moby Dick. I was way.
Oh yes, Moby Dick was
I
so
did.
much more entertaining.
It sucked. It's a boring book, but I did read it.
Called me.
I don't know how I did.
Moby Dick is I
Based on a
like it
true
actually.
story.
I bet I would like it now, but reading it in 6th grade.
What does Ron Swanson say in Parks and Rec? Where he's just like, I can't stand symbolism.
Yeah,
That's why Moby Dick is my favorite story.
Yeah,
It's just about a man
Yeah,
trying to
try to
kill
catch
a
a
whale. And then he's like, is it a symbol for all this? And he lists it off. He's like, no, it's just about a guy trying to kill a fish.
the white whale. So server meshing. No.
It's about time we talked about it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing it up. Thank you.
I've
So
been
what's your take?
waiting on that bit for 3 weeks.
What's your take?
He doesn't have a take.
I don't
know he
have a
doesn't have
take.
a
I wanted you to
What's
explain
your
it
take?
to us.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't read that article you sent on server meshing.
That's why I'm bringing it up now, though, because it's better when you get our reaction fresh. It's not.
Well, maybe I need a refresher.
Tune into the Katie ratio where you listen to us react to what server meshing is on the fly.
Yeah, baby.
Entertaining.
While I butcher a reenactment of what it
Layman.
actually is. Yeah. Okay, server mesh.
Oh, we're doing this.
We're
All right,
this.
we're doing
You
it.
ready?
Okay.
Okay. So, because I've had this on there and it's just ridiculous. We have to talk about it. We all know Star Citizen is a meme at this point, right? But
Never
what
come
it
out.
is actually kind of good at is being like, it's basically a tech demo at this point of like what things that they can try to accomplish in a video game. And, we can meme it for all it is that we want, but they actually demoed this really crazy new technology that I've never seen of or thought about as really advancing a lot of how players interact and engage with each other online. And some of the limitations that we've seen with games. Like, so for example, Lost Ark, or maybe it's New World or whatever, but like players will join a server to play on a server and they'll get stuck on that server. And like, let's say that server is dying and they don't combine it with another server. So like you're stuck with having, a couple hundred people online that you're stuck in this sort of world, and you'd have to pay a transfer fee to then transfer to another server, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what's really cool about this server mesh technology is it kind of throws that model out of it a little bit, out of the window. It's dynamically allocating like server capacity to handle online gaming. So what you have, the way it works is you have one server handle all of like the X and Y coordinate, like the X coordinates of like where you're at, right? Like, or I guess, yeah, your positional data, where things are being moved to. And that's sort of like the most important calculation server. It's just handling where objects are in the space. But then there's so much more to like the way servers render environments, right? They have to render the environment. They have to manage the AI and the interactions there. They have to manage like the response time of like you're doing damage. You're like, okay, this animation now dies. This character dies and stuff like that. There's immense calculations. What Star Citizen did a tech demo on, which was really insane, was they were dynamically allocating server capacity in space. So you had your one server calculate all the positional data of just where things are. And then they would dynamically allocate servers to certain geographical regions with their own boundaries. So like let's say you're on one side of a map, and you're on another side of the map. Like you throw a ball, this ball is bouncing, and then it kind of, unbeknownst to you, phases through, and now all of a sudden like that positional data server is feeding information to the other server that says, okay, you got a ball incoming, now render it now. And so it does this like handoff of where this object is, and now that server is being rendered. And what's really cool about this, if you think about like what Star Citizen is as a game, and like one of the things that they have to figure out is these massive scale fights, right? How do you handle that many people playing with that many different collisions and stuff?
Spaceships.
Like one server could not calculate all of that. Like the game is literally going to die. And this is actually one of the hurdles that they've been trying to overcome for years, is this server mesh technology. So they've basically written some kind of communication language that can allow these servers to speak to each other to handle this capacity. So what happens is it's like, oh, hey, we have a cluster of players in this area. We need resources there. The system will dynamically allocate more servers to like, so like the area of rendering gets smaller and smaller. So like they'll have a whole server, if it's like really populated in one area of the map, calculating this section, right? And then as people dissipate and stuff like that, then more like it'll, one server will take it over instead of having 3 or 4 servers take over it. So it's this dynamic way of allocating resources to handle and tackle whatever like is dynamically happening.
Wow.
Instead of just having like, because how many times have you been in a map or a game or something like that, and it's like, oh, the server's laggy, there's too much going on, like you bounce out or whatever. Like imagine not having that anymore. You set up your game host studio, right? You set up all your technology, and here's your host servers, right? And then you've got your game going on, and everyone's playing on the same map, and it can dynamically allocate and figure out how to serve the needs of that.
And wow.
It's absolutely crazy. The idea that like you could have just insane scale of fights, right? Would be insane.
Wouldn't you need still to, like, if you're gonna have an insane scale fight, you would still need a lot of servers though, right?
Oh shit!
So
yeah.
it wouldn't fix that issue as much as it just fixed the overlapping of servers.
Right. Like you wouldn't. Well, like imagine if you had one server and like 50 players were standing in one area. Like, okay, well that's gonna like bog down that server. It's gonna like lag because it's too much to render in that one environment or whatever. If you have now like the resource to basically block that up and break it up into multiple efforts, well, all of a sudden, like, yeah, you're right. You still need the full hardware scale. Like you'll need probably even more so. Like you'll need as many servers as you possibly can get. But in terms of how the computer is able to like render all of that,
segment it better to different servers rather than taking all one load on one server. It can say, okay, we need to allocate, pull from these other ones seamlessly.
and so they did a bunch of different like demos with it, and I had never seen any like technology like this or even heard of it. And I've played games where when you're on like one map and what happens to a server when everybody starts to fall into one space and you've got 80 people attacking each other, and you've got, this person inflicted bleed on you and this person inflicted burning on you, and you're cursed by this person. Like, there's all this data that you're feeding back, and it can't handle it's not that your computer can't necessarily render it. It's just that the servers can't actually
do all those
kick
calculations.
that data to you. Yeah, there's so much stuff going on,
Mm-hmm.
so much data to relay and calculate that the server's just quite literally lagging. So anyway, that's what kind of got me hyped up and excited, because I saw that and I was like, it's Star Citizen, so take it with a grain of salt. But at this point, it's quite literally like a tech demo. And when I saw this sort of breakthrough that they had, and the way that they'd explained that they have to overcome this hurdle to even come out with their game, just based on how it's going to play out, could be quite interesting. Be interesting to see how this ends up getting used across the industry, because wide scale PvP is something that I think people are continuing to yearn for. Like,
yeah, I mean, whenever a game comes out that like has, at least in the past, that promised like such and such 100 versus 100, not that level, but any game that promises that, it usually does pretty good, even though the game itself might not be the best. Like, do you remember back in like PS3, there was a game called like War or something? I don't remember what it was called. It was like 60v60.
oh wow,
It was like huge, but it kind of sucked.
it does that one thing really well.
Yeah.
But now imagine just like being able to throw this into your game and dynamically like handle all of that, instead of having to like really be strategic about your hardware and your infrastructure. Because think about how much that implicates like design choices going forward, right? When you're like, okay, I want to have this scale map, or I want to have this many features. It's like we're up against this arbitrary capacity, because remember, this has to all be rendered on one server, and with this many people, this is how many flops that you can calculate, or whatever teraflop. I hear that and I don't even know what I'm talking about, but computational calculations, right? So you have to like change your design up a little bit and based on what you're doing. Well, if you don't have to do that, you can come out with what your vision is and dynamically feed the resources to your vision as it's needed. Sign me up.
Yeah,
the less hardware limitations that we can put in front of like art designers and stuff like that, and creative visionary people, the better. They can make more cool, interesting things.
When you were talking about that, it reminded me of like the Lumens thing that we talked about a while ago. I'm so excited for the future of gaming with that technology and Unreal 5.
Oh yeah, we're like 5. Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah,
we're like on 5.6. I think just came out or something like that. Yeah.
And you look at it, you're like,
they keep coming out with crazy shit. And you're like, just some of the stuff in terms of like just rendering assets. Remember, like the idea of you would have these different polygon count art assets, right? You have like, if you're really far away, render this image, and you get closer, you get one step closer, it renders this image, and then you walk 15 steps closer, and then one more step, and it renders this image, right? There's that pop-in effect.
Yeah.
Now the engine is doing that calculation for you, right? Of how many polygons or whatever it is that they're rendering that to like dynamically shift that. So there's no pop in. It just gets more clear, but you're so far away, you never even actually notice the difference. The ability to not have to go and create all those art assets is insane.
Well, and like Lumen, the ability for them, like I never knew lighting was that hard in gaming. I always thought what you think, like, oh, they point the light and
it figures it out.
Yeah. No, it like you had to say, okay, this has this certain type of reflectivity. Now you can put in like real dynamic light, and you can create like, this is leather, and the system automatically knows, okay, leather, this is how light looks on leather, especially when it's up here. That amazes me. There's I learned this today, and I was fascinated. For the second or the third Planet of the Apes movie,
They
we
use
were
Lumen?
talking. No, it's another technology, but it blows my mind again. So it's a third. It's War for the Planet of the Apes. I think is the last one with Caesar. But anyways, they it's in. I think it's ILM did it right. Industrial Light and Magic. ILM has created a program for forests to where it naturally plants trees. Like you put in, you say, I want trees to grow here, 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 here. And then it'll grow them naturally based on like proximity to each other. So that way you'll get trees that overgrow the other and the other one doesn't grow because it's taking up all the sun. And it does that all automatically. That I was amazed by that. Like, and it says, okay, if it's if it's higher elevation, it's going to be this. Somebody went in there and programmed that all so that now
They
you can
built
just
a
say,
model of how trees actually
yeah,
work.
now you can just say, okay, I want trees here, and then
Yep.
it builds it for you.
And then anybody now can use that resource and generate a really lifelike. Yeah,
That's amazing.
these are all just tools. I love it.
I know.
I love it. I love it so much.
And it gets me excited for like I mean that's for a movie. I'm sure you can bring it over to video games.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
And like a lot of this stuff, like Lumen, I know is insane on like processing
Mm-hmm.
overhead. But even if it's used in 4 or 5 years or whatever, where we start like 4 or 5 years, the hardware can run it, and then another year or two for games to actually put it into their game. It's just like really cool to see these hurdles and then kind of envision what can happen down the road. And all it does is lower that bar of accessibility for these games, because right now there's a lot of like just bad games or indie games that aren't really there. People aren't putting that much time into it, but they can make them look fucking beautiful.
yeah.
It's crazy.
And touching on like the elite or not elite dangerous, the Star Citizen one and Planet of the Apes. It's also amazing how most of this technology is often developed during development of something else. Like it's because it's a necessity. So they're like, well, let's make this so that we have an easier time doing it. And then it drastically helps every other
100%.
video game company out there.
That's
Progress.
like progress in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Progress does not just do it itself, right? Like somebody has to actually work their butts off. The same thing with Star Citizen. They knew this was going to be a hurdle that they have to overcome, so they invented this whole like dynamic server system, the server meshing technology. And I don't know if it's actually going to have any implications, but I certainly like the idea of just having like static IPs that you log into, and that's how it handles anything that could be dynamic. Seems to me that it'll handle problems better.
Yeah.
So,
And the ability for it to do it on the fly without manual need of like, oh, this
No
server's
human
getting
intervention.
overloaded. Yeah.
amen. Well, where can people find us?
They can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, any major podcast listening platform, as
Yeah.
well as on YouTube. We stream every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. We did miss the last 2 weeks, but we're back.
It's Dylan's fault.
It'll never happen again.
Really, Kyle? Never.
Never.
Not once.
All right. So now that we've made that commitment, no,
For the rest of our lives.
We're going live at 7 p.m. every single day. for the re-
we're gonna do sleep streams now.
Ooh.
Do you think if we streamed every night at 7 p.m. for the rest of our lives, like how disappointed would you be if we never got a following?
We're
I'd hang out
still.
with you guys, so I wouldn't be that disappointed.
Aww.
And remember, the good KD, you get the dub.
Bye, guys.